do the intro and all that, but I don't know how I want to do this. Do I want to do it?
Stuff happens. Stuff happens.
People will come in. When they come in, they can see it, so I'll play it.
Who done stepped in the game? At point blank range. Who done stepped in the game? At point blank range. Who done stepped in the game? Stepped in the game. Stepped in the game.
decide from now. So aside for where we can go. Into gear with no guiding light. You know where is the goal. Time to follow. We can try to believe it now. It looks so many sorrows, but we can swallow. Gonna be hard to every time I ask the smallest thing, you get more. Just ignore. I don't want to hear how long will it be.
All right, what's going on, y'all? Yeah, slightly proud of that intro. It's been a while since I've used it, but
Dude, you did a 5-minute intro, dude.
yeah, man, it's
Okay.
kind of pumps me up a little bit. But
Gotcha.
no, man, how you been, man?
I'm good, and Xenoblade Chronicles X is still not coming to Switch.
You
So
know, it doesn't need to, you know, because if you have a Wii U, it don't matter, right?
yeah, we just don't matter.
It's one of those things, man. My Wii U sitting right over here in the corner. I need to go ahead and hook it up so I can go ahead and stream some more of the video gameplay there. But yeah, I've been on hiatus for a while. I should have been doing a couple of videos here and there. Actually, I got a couple in the chamber right now, but between Final Cut and Writer's Block and whatever else, sometimes you don't have the motivation, and then so what I have been trying to do is wean myself away from Twitter and toxic people on the internet in general. So it's just, and that's not saying individual people, that's like companies also, because some of the stuff they post is just gross, and you're like, so you're just going to continue massaging this message over and over again. I don't have time for it. So
Black Dynamite, I am toxic people.
Oh yeah. But yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat. I got a DJ drone about. I guess do what you gotta do. Big J's back, got Dark Void in here, Hayes RJH, Legend of Josh in here, Trinell, Dan the Man, the Nintendo fan. Okay, I see you. Miss K in here. What's good, Miss K? What's going on?
Hey, Miss K.
So yeah, we're doing our little thing. We're doing our normal little ShadowCast thing. It's not formal. Nobody gives a fuck. It's not going to be, obviously it's not going to be child sensitive in that way, shape, or form, because we all grown here.
Sir, I have you know I am 12.
Yes. My homeboy here, Jay from the Winged Podcast, so Winged Podcast fame here. I got him as a guest. We may have some other Winged members join momentarily. It's not just how can I say this, cemented just for Winged members. Anybody that wants to come on, you know, whether you want to smoke or you want to talk or chill or whatever, you're more than welcome to join. All you got to do is just you know how to communicate with me. It'll either be Twitter or YouTube or whatever, and we can interact and we can go from there. But since I've been inactive since about November, like right before Thanksgiving ish, a lot going on in the gaming space. A lot of broken promises, a lot of Switch Pro rumors. You know, the normal stuff, right? They come and go, and then people come up with new rumors and go from there. But a couple of rumors got confirmed. So people are doing they're circling the wagons and celebrating that their year-old rumors finally came to light. So yeah, I don't really know how I feel about that, but we kind of knew something was going on with the whole Metroid situation. We kind of knew that was going on ever since Retro got greenlit to be part of the project again. So we knew they were working on something. They got to do something to at least get their feet wet as far as development on Switch and whatever Switch's successor would be. So
plus they did all that insane hiring.
Yeah, and they did a lot of insane hiring. They're still hiring right now for Metroid Prime 4. So
because they're up to what? Because last time it was like 200 people or something like that now.
Yeah, I from what I understand right now, there's still at least 12 positions open right now that they're currently hiring for, and it's not just on Retro's page. Retro has they have a hiring IR page built into Nintendo site as well. So they're like hiring, like it's a big thing. They're not fucking around. They're trying to get people that are going to be permanent to go forward to develop engines for whatever projects that Retro and Nintendo proper have going for the foreseeable future. One of the things that shout out to Modern Adventures Gamer, first of all, for unblocking me yet again, and also for liking the tweet that I put out there regarding development. It is interesting that Nintendo suddenly has an interest not only in C#, because I know like a lot of tools are written in C# and stuff like that, but there's an interesting little handle that I figured that I saw that kind of caught my attention. I'm like, hey, you're trying to wrap C++ code into C#. Why? Why would you want to do that? That means that you're trying to take existing code from a previous project and make it C#. So is the future C#, and what is taking that code? What new development environment is taking that? And obviously, it's not just tools and not just project management tools. That means that you're converting game code to C#, and that makes things a little bit different. So that kind of scratched my head a little bit when I saw that, and I'm like, that's different. I wonder what they're working on. I don't know if a lot of people know, but there's not too much stuff out there other than some wild third-party games that are entirely written in C# going forward. A lot of stuff still has old legacy C and C++ as far as main code. So it's kind of interesting to see that choice of language being used, especially proficiency in it being required for a couple of job postings that Nintendo put up. They're obviously forward thinking, and I mean that's not a first for them. They always are forward thinking because the Nintendo Directs and numerous other things you can think about.
It did not become popular until PlayStation cheated off their paper.
Oh yeah. You know how that goes. If you all you have to do to understand whether or not somebody is really liking what you're doing is that they imitate it. So that's just the way that goes.
This is true.
But yeah. So shout out to y'all for y'all showing up. I know it's been a long time, so I'm glad that some people jumped in the chat pretty quick. It's been a minute, but we'll get into it. We'll go ahead and talk about everything. If you guys have questions about anything regarding tech or any of the new stuff or the Nintendo Direct that just came about, we'll kind of casually talk about this stuff as we go. But what I wanted to do to try to kick off the conversation for a little bit is another person that unblocked me recently. Well, not unblocked, they unmuted me recently because they liked a tweet of mine not too long ago. Brand Smith, what's up in the chat? I see you, man. Yeah, we here. Yeah, I ain't dead. Rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and we'll pop this little video up here and we'll see how this goes. It's just interesting to see exactly how this is supposed to go. And we'll play this if you guys are familiar. You may have seen this earlier, but we'll go ahead and play it real quick. Let's see what we got.
It's kind of weird, but Nintendo fans as a whole actually know more about graphics than Sony and Xbox fans. And that's pretty ironic considering the last 3 generations that Nintendo systems have been the least powerful and have had the least impressive graphics. But that is the case. And there's multiple reasons for that. But the beginning of this actually stems from the Wii. Well, take that back. Technically, it started with the GameCube because when the Nintendo GameCube came out, Nintendo released some very conservative and downplayed pretty much the power of the GameCube to the point to where even to this day, there are still people that believe the PlayStation 2 is more powerful than the GameCube, despite every single GameCube game looking better than PlayStation 2 versions. Every single one.
So, for those that have been following me for a while, I'm the guy that wrote the really, really long post about Xbox versus GameCube versus PS2, and exactly how conservative Nintendo's numbers were at the time. From what everybody seems to remember, it's the whole 6 to 12 million polygons per second kind of situation. But that's a real world situation with all polygons, lit effects, that whole nine or whatever. Greg Buckner, who was the ATI vice president then at the time, just told IGN directly, yes, around 90 million polygons per second raw. And if you do the numbers here, yeah, it is about 90 million triangles per second. And when you hear about the original Xbox, they were saying something around anywhere between 112 to 120 million vertices per second. But you have to understand the math then at that point. 120 million vertices per second doesn't necessarily mean 120 million polygons per second. 90 million polygons are individual polygons drawn. Vertices could be individual or shared points on a screen. So if you took like a grid and you put a whole bunch of polygons on it and whatnot, it is possible for 3 triangles to share only so many vertices. They could share vertices versus 3 individual polygons, a triangle being the smallest polygon, right? That will be 3 separate triangles, but you could do in vertices, it would be way less polygons for the same amount of vertices, because you can take vertices and they could share. So if you think about it, if you do 3 triangles and put them together, they all converge at 3 separate points. Even more so if you fold it into a 3-dimensional shape and make a pyramid. Now you've got a 3-dimensional pyramid, and technically speaking, there's only about 4 points of communication there for that pyramid. So that's really only 4 vertices versus it being three individual polygons. So now you've got a 4 vertices count for only 3 full polygons. So what I want people to understand is why when these companies come out with these specs and speeds and feeds the way that they do, why they choose the words that they do. So be very careful when you look at the numbers that these people give you and what they don't tell you in between. Notice that Microsoft at no point ever said how many polygons per second the original Xbox could draw. They only said vertices. And they did that for a reason, because if you do the polygon count, the raw polygon count is a little bit under what the GameCube could do raw. Now, once you start adding effects and stuff like that, then they're pretty much a wash, because there are things that the Xbox could do with DirectX, and there are things that the GameCube could do with this custom stuff that was built in. Because a lot of stuff you didn't need to do shaders for on the GameCube side because it was already fixed function hardware to do the same thing. So I see you, Sir Ton Square. What's up? See you in the chat. But yeah, that's the whole situation. So even way back in the 6th generation, you had this massaging of the message, like, hey, we just kind of want to let you know that Xbox is the most powerful console, and we brought the Guinness Book of World Records out to come tell us they're the most powerful console.
I never understood that. I'm like, who gives that? Let me see what your games look like.
Yep. Oh, we got Shawnee in the chat. I see you. Okay, go ahead. I give you a shout out. You ask for a shout out, you get one. So yeah, it's been a minute. But yeah, that's kind of the way it is. They come up with these numbers, and when you ask, hey, what do you mean by vertices? They don't really tell you. And it's the same thing, kind of like with going forward. You have the Xbox Series X and the PS5. They don't tell you exactly what type of CPU is in there. They say, hey, well, it's a desktop class, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, well, how much cache is in there? We're not going to tell you. We're going to give you an arbitrary number. We're going to tell you how much SRAM is on the whole chipset. We're not going to tell you how much L3 cache is on the chip, because if they told you that it was only 8 megabytes of L3, then you know for sure that there's going to be that's not a desktop class CPU. That's a tablet or a mobile type CPU, and that's what they don't want to tell you. But we'll go through the rest of the video. Shawnee talking about the Dreamlight Valley update. Oh yeah, we may or may not talk about that. That was in the Nintendo Direct. I'm not sure what the release date is for that. I saw it, but I'm not sure.
I don't play that game, so I wouldn't even know.
Yeah, and this is a big fan of that one. So I have to see intensely and find out what the update release date is for that. But I don't know. I brought it up during the podcast, but I don't remember during the Wing podcast. But I'm not sure.
You brought it up, but we didn't go into it.
Yeah, we didn't bring it up
because it was one of the situations we were like, oh, okay. And we went to the next thing.
Yeah, I complained because it's the PC version shoehorned into the Switch. But
yeah, they didn't do
yeah. They got to get those buttons right and everything else. But I mean,
yeah, they got time to do it.
Oh yeah, they got plenty of time to do it and update it. But we'll get back into it. But yeah, that's kind of how, like, I would say by default more Nintendo fans were into it. He's kind of right, because the Nintendo fans kind of were forced to know more about the tech because Nintendo's not going to share. He'll talk more about it, but Nintendo wasn't going to share anything, so you kind of had to figure out yourself, kind of situation. Because they would give like a vague estimate, or they won't give you what the raw numbers were unless somebody else kind of let the cat out of the bag. So it had to be like another type of scenario. Well, she said it comes out tomorrow. I guess I need to check on the site then to figure out what the updates are for Dreamlight Valley. So anybody out there playing Dreamlight Valley, there's an update coming out tomorrow. I don't know if it's the big one though. I'm not sure. I think there's another big DLC patch that's supposed to be coming out like in another month or so. But yeah, we'll look into that soon. But the whole scenario with this system, GameCube in particular, was that Nintendo didn't tell you exactly the same numbers that Sony did for the PS2 and what Microsoft did for the Xbox. So a lot of people thought that the PS2 was more powerful, which is insane. Like the PS2 did have a very wide memory bus, which meant that you could do some things that the GameCube couldn't technically on paper if you're talking about just raw reading. But if you're reading raw and the CPU couldn't write back to memory fast enough, there was really no benefit to that. So, which if you look at any PS2 postmortems, you'll understand the difficulty there. But we'll go back to what else he's saying.
But there's still people, there's someone watching this video right now. The PlayStation 2 is more powerful than the GameCube. No, it ain't. Shut up and sit down. Have a seat. It's not. But anyway, there's still people out there that believe that, because of Nintendo's secrecy and when it comes to specs, which is why when the Wii came out, that was the moment that made Nintendo fans have to get more knowledgeable about graphics. As soon as verifiable rumors started to come out about the original Wii's spec performance and how it was very similar to the original Xbox or a GameCube Plus or 2 to 3 GameCubes stuck together, duct taped together, Nintendo fans as a whole were pretty shocked and confused, and we're looking for answers. And a lot of people were like, no, there's no, there has to be something else. There gotta be something. It has to be some kind of secret sauce. It has to be something. Maybe they just don't need it because of this. They don't need it because of that. Like, it has to have some superpower somewhere. Oh, no. It's because it doesn't use polygons. It uses nerves. It doesn't need to be powerful. It uses nerves.
So it's interesting because there were desperate Nintendo fans then at the time. Oh, we got Levon Casing in the house. King of the Chrome side was going on. Yeah, I appreciate all y'all coming in, dropping comments. Appreciate it. Got Sandstorm McDowell in the house. Yo. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. Never mind. He's of a certain fame. He is present today, part of the beer gang. We all beer gang up here. But yeah, so I mean, you kind of eavesdropped in on what was happening here. So we're basically, Dr. Trey's talking about how Nintendo fans at one point in time, they had no choice but to know more about graphics than any of the other fans out there because Nintendo was vague with everything, so you got to figure everything out on your own. So,
Right.
Yeah, it's just a situation where if you are, especially with the Wii situation, because people are like, hey, the other systems are HD and whatnot. So how are you gonna do us like this? Because we have heard rumors that you were doing some of the HD too, but that got dropped, and that's a long story that we can talk about later regarding Factor 5, because they let it loose that was a thing at one point in time. But Nintendo chose to say, you know what, we're not going to spend all this money. We see that both of these other systems are doing this. We have this control mechanism here. We'll go with that. And we'll just shoot for 480p because there's way more people that still had SD TVs than at the time than high definition TVs. We're talking about late 2005, early 2006.
And I think that's the other thing that people need to understand. Like when you go back, like HD TVs were not that prevalent because one, a 32-inch cost you like $2,500.
Yep.
And that wasn't even, that was an LCD screen, 32-inch. Thick as I don't know what.
I would say this. Think about this. HD back then, HDMI wasn't a standard yet.
No.
You were using component cables to hook up to TVs that upscaled to 1080i. And they may have been 720p. A lot of sets were 480p and 1080i only back then. So you can kind of understand what Nintendo's target was then at the time. They're like, hey, look, these TVs that are HD, they're kind of still not HD. So let's just meet the man in the middle here where most of the people are, and let's just continue to go enhanced definition or whatever. If it's going to be, I think it was 520 or 540 something P for the EU or whatever. But that was kind of the highest resolution that the Wii could produce then at that time. It was 853 by 480 here, which is 480p widescreen. But yeah, that was if you think of the time then at the time, that was why Nintendo was doing things the way that they were, and people were confused. Like, there has to be an HD one, there has to be something, and going from there. But you gotta understand, I mean, they want to get to the biggest audience. They want to have the cheapest price point so they can carve a niche back that they couldn't get from GameCube. So they're like, hey, look, our goal is to sell more games. So however we got to do it, we don't need to slug it out with these dudes. We have a better environment that we can do without the glitz and the glamour, if you will, with regards to that. And if you think about it anyway, in retrospect, a lot of the things and a lot of the effects that the quote unquote HD systems were doing, this system was doing in standard definition anyway. So you're like, oh, well, I mean, with this system here, it has this certain type of lighting or whatever. And I'm like, GameCube did that kind of lighting like 2 years before that, but okay. But it's in HD. Okay, cool. You got a higher resolution. That's fine. But what's your frame rate looking like? And people have rose tinted glasses. If you early 360 and early PS3 games, they ran rough. And you wanted to get these nice graphics, and you wanted to have this certain type of lighting or whatever, this HDR rendering or whatnot, or global illumination or whatnot. It came at a price, and it was memory bound a lot. So you got a lot of frame rate issues in those games. So say what you will, but in retrospect, obviously Nintendo made the right decision. So because they were having games that were 60 frames per second, because all you need is 9 megabytes per frame to render 480p. So they were perfectly fine. 88 megs of RAM, that was overkill for what they were trying to do. So you didn't really have to worry about that platform with regards to really making any type of game on Wii. But we'll hear him out real quick. He got another couple minutes here, and I'll cut it off early, and then we can continue the rest of the conversation. But it's just hilarious hearing. But he always makes it funny the way he talks about it anyway. So
like NERBs. But yeah, I mean, think about it like this. Go back and look at the Nintendo On. People believed that was real. That video didn't even get release dates right, and people thought that was an official Nintendo video. Look how Mario looked in that video. There's no way Nintendo would have made Mario look like that. But people were desperate to believe it was real because they did not want to believe that Nintendo would have the nerve to come out with a system of that power against the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. But they did. But that forced Nintendo fans to do more research about graphics. Find out what was actually needed in graphical performance, what was most important. And that's where it began. And that's where kind of almost the obsession began. That's why you see the last couple generations, most of, you go to a gaming forum, if they're talking about specs, if people is going back and forth discussing specs, 9 times out of 10, it's about a Nintendo system. And part of that is because Nintendo never publicly releases their official specs or benchmarks. So fans pretty much have to do research and figure it out themselves. Like, what other fan base do you know of would put together money to buy the picture of a die shot and try to figure out
Chip works.
the specs of the system based on a picture? Those are Nintendo fans. Xbox and Sony fans won't do that because they don't have to do that. All their specs, everything is there for them. They already know what to expect when a new system comes out because one, Microsoft and Sony will tell them the specs, and they'll overhype actually what the system's capable of, so they don't need to do it. They don't really need to know much about graphics because Sony will tout it for them. With Nintendo fans have to do all the digging and do all of the research because Nintendo never wants to put that out there because they never want to compete head to head when it comes to specs. Even back with the GameCube, which actually could go to head with anything of that era. So it forced Nintendo fans to do research, and then at the end of the day, became more knowledgeable about specs, and ironically enough, know more about it than Sony and Microsoft fans.
So yeah, I mean that's essentially the gist there. If you think about it, I mean he's not wrong. I was there in those forums then at the time. Dating back to GameCube, it was PC versus console getting banned repeatedly because I would say things that would make sense, and the moderators were fanboys. So if you were in there and you're like, hey, why do you think this is this? Oh, if you don't know this, then you don't know nothing about tech and you're banned. Like those kind of things would happen back then. And this is pre-Reddit. You know, this is pre. Well, I want to say it was IGN, but IGN was a cesspool then anyway. But you had other forums and stuff that you would go to, and then the Beyond 3D forums, Jesus Christ, were the worst. But at one point in time, there legitimately was a 300-page thread that was just about the Latte GPU and the Wii U. And to this day, there are still parts of that GPU we don't know the functions of them. One of them is an interpolation unit that I found out later by literally counting the amount of units there and comparing it to an earlier GPU from the Radeon 2000 series, believe it or not. But there's an interpolator there at some point that compensates for the Wii U having only 8 RLPs, because that was one of the big things that quote unquote tech insiders would complain about. Well, it only has 8 raster operating units, so it can't really throw out what it needs to throw out to be able to perform these complex calculations. And I'm like, but if it has help, not even shaders don't even have to manage pixels and where they need to go, then that's less shaders that you have to throw at a certain operation, which means that the shaders on the Wii U are dedicated to just gaming tasks, not pixel managing tasks, not any other raster operating tasks. Literally just transform, multiply adds. That's it, kind of situation. It's basically a combination of the fixed function stuff that was on Wii and GameCube in high definition with shaders. Because there was fixed function stuff that the Wii U also did, that you could just say, hey, look, I'm setting up this environment, and now if I want to run this engine and I have shaders run this other stuff, I can have this fixed function stuff run along with the programmed stuff, the programmable shader stuff. And that's just another one of those weird little voodoo things that Nintendo has, and you'll have a developer out here that, number one, Wii U was notoriously bad as far as documentation anyway. It was just, hey, go figure it out. Y'all are the greatest programmers in the world. Here it is. Go do it. Go figure it out. And so people were struggling. And they're like, well, we can't do this, blah, 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 blah. And then Nintendo's like, but we did it. But we did it. Oh, we can't get an open world game running. Like we published 2 open world games on Wii U. We did it. What were you struggling with? This system has twice the amount of memory as the previous generation, and you did open world games on those. So what's the holdup, Chuck? But that's one of the things where those are arguments that Nintendo fans had then at the time, but you couldn't really make arguments if the entire medium that you were having a discussion on was run by anti-Nintendo fanboys. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by anti-Nintendo is what they don't want to ever admit is that Nintendo was right about one thing with regards to anything technical. It's not that they know they make good games. They know they like to play their games. They won't say that they're bad developers per se, but it is just impossible for them to imagine that Nintendo was ahead of something on a technical basis in any way, shape, or form. They don't want to talk about it. It's just not a thing. If you go to somebody and you just say, why did it take so long for Xbox to have a first-party Bluetooth controller? Nintendo had the first-party wireless controller and the first Bluetooth controller, essentially. Why were they leading in that regard with tech? And then you say they're behind the times. They're doing NFC and stuff in games and transferring knees around and all this other kind of foolishness. And you say they're behind the times. It's just confusing to me when you have a system that gives you the option of whether you want to have a online adapter or not, or give you the option of whether or not you want to buy your own storage instead of having it built in and caked into your system. And now you got to open your system to add another hard drive in instead of just, I don't know, popping an SD card in there. Mm-hmm. You know, that kind of stuff, or adding your own USB hard drive. In the case of Wii U, adding your own USB hard drive up to 2 terabytes or more. People saw that as a detriment. And when they're forward thinking, nobody wants to talk about that. When Wii U was the first 8th generation platform out there, they did everything possible to try to paint that platform in a way to just say, well, it's just Nintendo's 7th generation system. And I'm like, that was weak.
Right.
Now, Shadow, why are you talking about IGN like that?
Man, they got paid to do it. They got paid to do it because, Nintendo's not buying a whole bunch of ad space on IGNs. I mean, come on. Just
no, they're not.
Dollars to donuts. It's just common sense. It makes sense. We know why they did it.
Oh yeah.
And third parties, it's not in third parties' best interest to be pimping Nintendo,
right?
Because they make more money on the other 2 platforms. So why would they go out of their way to tell the truth about any of that, or admit that, hey, you know what, we can't just take our engine and shoehorn it on this platform. We would actually have to dedicate people to program for it. And we don't want to do that anymore. So we want our consoles to be more like PCs, so we can just run our code everywhere instead of dedicating it.
This is what I've never understood. Because you got companies like EA and Activision with more than enough employees to actually dedicate and do that.
And they still won't do it.
And they still wouldn't do it. I'm like, that made no sense. I'm like, are y'all allergic to money or something?
And you know what's and you know what's funny to me is that and I had this conversation before. It wasn't a whole conversation. It was a thought. It was a thought that somebody else put out, and it was so small. And I wanted to say something, but we just kind of kept moving on with the topic because that wasn't really the topic in itself. But it was said that, you know, the PS5 equivalent to the graphics processor now is a 2070. Am I right? A 2070. And these consoles, mind you, Sony and Microsoft, when we were told about these consoles, they were supposed to be pushing bleeding edge. They were supposed to be the right when, you know, AMD was coming out. You know what I mean? Like this was the next thing for AMD equivalent, you know. That was all a lie.
Yeah.
You know, the 3080 came out not too far after both of those systems were out. Now at their time, maybe. I don't even know. No, 27, because there's still supers in between that. So they're not, that's not even the high end for even that. And now we're looking at the 4 series, and I think I put that article up a couple weeks ago about somebody being real open, like the PS5 is already, you know, already showing its age, and they're only in year 3. And it's like, but you ask any Sony or I mean Xbox fans don't really have anything to play, so I can't really give them that. But you ask any Sony fan, and they're like, you know, we're top of the line. We're up here with y'all. We're up here, but you're not. You're not. If you knew about your specs of your system, if you knew about what is it, RDNA? Is it RDNA that they have?
RDNA 2.
Yeah.
They're already on 3 now, aren't they?
Yep. Going on 4.
So where were y'all at? What's y'all not leading in technology? Y'all not. I don't even think y'all mid-low.
And the CPU is from 2019 as well. Well, actually 2018 because this is in 2.
Yeah. That's why when people say, oh, this console released already outdated. Like every console released outdated. If you really cared about, you know, high-end bleeding edge graphics, you would be PC only.
Yeah, and
that's the only thing you can say. You can't, if you talk about your console released outdated because back when they were doing R&D and actually building the damn thing, that's when they were using those parts. If you watch CES, then you already know this.
And that's why I bring this up, because it seems the Switch seems to be the only one that's different. But I'm gonna tie that into it. I'm gonna tie that into this piece. But every single Nintendo console that they've had has had that ideology, if you will, of making it wonky. Something is doing something, and it's set up that way to do something in particular for them. Sony and Microsoft seem to, like you said, be solely into the whole computer life. Like, we got to make it as computer as possible, as streamlined as possible, so we can get as many of these engines on here, and that they all work for whatever reason. And now that's like even less of a reason now, because everything seems to be working on everything, even if they want to tell you that it doesn't. But, you know, money makes a difference. Anyway, so So you got Wii U on down. They all are just a little bit different, and how they're built compared to the competitors. But then when you look at Switch, the difference isn't necessarily in the hardware. It's more so into one, the engines that it can actually run, and two, the fact that everything is streamlined now. Everything can work from the highest end PC down to the lowest whatever have you cell phone. That's that's the wonkiness, if you will, in the system. So the philosophy really hasn't changed. The philosophy hasn't changed. It's just how they attack the philosophy. And I think people get too deep into, like you said, Sony and Microsoft, they get way too deep into specs and not even really understanding what they're talking about in the first place. And then when games come out, it seems that they are the ones who have the most excuses for the systems that are the most powerful. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like we have problems like Bayonetta comes out and it's like, oh well, this may happen or this may happen. You got to understand this or this, or they chose to do that themselves. But then when a back game comes out for the PS4 or PS5 and the Series X, it's like, oh well,
That didn't happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
system's still powerful enough. They must not be using it right. Which one is it?
Well, it looks really good at 1080p. I really like it. It looks really good.
I put it on performance mode just so you know, because I want it to run better. Shouldn't it
Yeah.
run fine on regular? Because you got the most powerful console, but
Thought it was supposed to perform fine anyway. I thought that's why we got the new platform. Okay, that's cool.
I mean, if you can't, well, we already seen that. How did Gotham Knights go? It went from being a 4-player experience to we got a delay. Okay, it's going to be 2-player to we got a delay. Hey, if you want to play it in 4K, you got to cut it to 30 frames a second, or it's not going to play right. Like, wait a minute.
The only one where they were like, okay, maybe it's a bad game was Grand Theft Auto Trilogy. That was it. That was it. Oh, it's bad on Switch too. Oh, so it actually must be bad then because.
But because of the video just came out of the Switch version, they just were like, oh, well, look, the Switch can't even run a PS2 port of a game. Like
right.
that would be the excuse that we use. And they're like, well, that same game is running like trash on those other platforms. Oh, well, it's just bad code now. Now it's the developer.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. They should have used the other one. Didn't I say that? Well, it just made more sense now because PS5.
That's the conversation that I have, and I think that's the frustrating part, that even Nintendo fans, or they call themselves Nintendo fans, seem to not comprehend this.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be about what the developers choose to do, because even Wii U had more than enough to give you what you needed for a 1080p frame buffer. 35 megs of eDRAM, that's insanely fast. You can draw a 1080p frame buffer. Now, what do you do with the rest of your game and the rest of your assets is up to you at that point. If you decide you want to make a janky game that's bloated and full of a whole bunch of, how can I say this, overdrawn RAM type situations where, hey, I'm going to not even attempt to I'm not even going to attempt to try to dilute any of this stuff. Everything is going to just be completely bloated. I'm going to have, anywhere between 200 to 300 megs of freaking render targets here per frame. And I wonder why my game is crawling. Like, dude, you have tiled assets for a reason. Like, draw within those parameters and make sure your game looks well and it performs well in 1080p on even Wii U then at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we kept getting shoehorning instead of people writing to the metal, and you get what you get.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we have Switch, which solves all the CPU issues, because I use the game that I just got through playing. Well, I can't think of the name of it right now. I'm losing.
Was it Shin Megami Tensei? Oh
no, Nier Automata. Like,
yeah.
So that port, and there's a developer introspective on that one as well. They had issues because so many things were CPU bound in the PS4 version of that game. And they're like, how are we going to get? And they're like, wait, the Switch has intrinsics too because it's just a Tegra. And the Tegra, instead of using SSE or anything like that for the CPU to be able to do floats, you use Neon. Mm-hmm. And Neon is that version for running SIMD on the CPU for the A53 and A57 on Switch. They implement that. Now they have no problems. And they only use that CPU heavy stuff mostly for spatial audio, right? Again, Switch has a DSP. If they rewrote everything to work for the DSP, they wouldn't even have those issues that they had with converting those CPU intrinsics for Switch. They wouldn't even have to do that either if they wrote everything for the DSP. But again, we're talking about a game that was originally designed for PS4 and shoehorned on Switch. So when you have like a dedicated Switch team to port that game, like our only job is we see what this game is. We develop an engine specifically for Switch for that game to make sure it wouldn't even be that big of a deal. But even with all the conversion that needed to happen that isn't necessarily native for Switch, we still got a game with a higher resolution on Switch than it was on the original hardware, which is PS4. And that's supposedly significantly more powerful because of titty flops. It has more titty flops than Switch. And I'm like, it's a little bit more important than that because as hardware advances, it gets smaller. Mm-hmm. And its performance per watt. Like RDNA 1 has more teraflops than RDNA 2. But RDNA 2 has better performance. Why is that? Because RDNA 2 takes up less die space than RDNA 1, which means they shrunk everything down. So you get more performance per watt in that generational leap from what AMD was doing previously to what they're doing now. So if you look at a Radeon 7 versus a 7900 XT, it's leaps and bounds better, even though it has less shaders than that Radeon 7. So and when you try to talk to people about that, they don't want to hear the performance per watt thing either, because now they're like, dang, Switch running at like 11 watts, man, and this PS4 don't even boot without 250. So clearly, the Switch is better with that. We don't want to talk about it. But I thought y'all tech heads, bro. If y'all tech heads and y'all all about the tech, then performance per watt, that metric. Let's talk about just that, because that's how tech advances anyway. You increase performance per watt as small as possible. That's how you get the die shrinks to 5 and 3 nanometers now, which is a lot of this tech is going to
NVIDIA even tells you that. They even show you the next generation and tell you the performance per watt.
Yep. If you want to know it.
So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things to me that is just frustrating, because they pick and choose what metrics they want to use, and they pick and choose what buzzwords they want to use. I'm like, if you're going to use them, first of all, understand what they are. Don't come to me and talk about ray tracing and you don't know that it's not ray tracing on everything. If we start talking about, well, the Switch doesn't even have RT cores, and I'm like, okay, all right. So what does that mean? Oh, well, it can't even ray trace. It can't ray trace what? Well, look at this. All of this stuff is ray trace. Are you sure? You sure? You sure about that? You might want to look at the AMD development tools and see what they have there, because you got to pick and choose what you're going to ray trace. You can't do it all at once. So you're going to look over there. Ooh, that water looks nice. Then you're going to turn around and something else is going to look like trash because it was rasterized. And there's no reflections or shadows or whatever that are ray traced anywhere near as well as that water was that was right behind you, because the developers had to pick and choose what surfaces they wanted to use for that, because they can't do it throughout the entire scene. It's too computationally expensive, even for the highest end of hardware that you would have on PC right now. It's just not a thing that you could do. This is what data centers do right now. You just can't. It's just not. It's too computationally expensive to do true raycast throughout an entire scene. And I've been saying this for the longest time, and then what I get is, oh, well, you talking to tech gobbledygook, and I'm like, you brought it up. When you start talking about performance, then now we're talking about tech gobbledygook. So you can't call it tech gobbledygook when I start talking about what you were talking about, and I get very specific. So and that's the other thing I hate too when I hear like, hey, well, this can't do this or this can't do that, and this can only do this, and I'm like, how do you know that? And they're like, well, it just can't because somebody else said it, and I'm like, but if 1920 times 1080 times 32 is only 16 megabytes per frame, if the system has more than 16 megabytes in RAM, it can do it. So what do you mean? Like explain the math to me, because I just did the math just now. So, and that's in 32-bit color, not 24. That's in 32-bit color. All you need is 16 megs per frame. So explain to me how even Wii U didn't have 16 megs of VRAM. Please explain it to me. I want to know. Please tell me how the frame buffer is not drawing. And then you say, oh, this engine or this game camera. Oh, okay, that's different. But what you're telling me is those people don't have a well-designed engine. That's what you're telling me, because people make those engines. Consoles don't make them. You don't go to a console and say, spit me out engine. It doesn't happen. A person sits down and writes it. So either it's a good implementation or it's a bad one. That means that person wrote a good or a bad engine that either took advantage or didn't take advantage of the hardware that's in front of them. And the whole point of having a console is it's fixed. Every switch is the same. Every switch light is the same. Every switch OLED is the same. You're not going to get serial number 2 and serial number 3, and they're completely different specs. It's not like a PC. So games don't run on consoles. Developers code to the console.
It's a solid state drive.
So when the game doesn't run well, you have zero excuses because it's fixed. There's zero reason for a PS5 game to be sluggish. Like, what is the development team doing on PS5? Like, what are y'all doing? You know what this target is. It's not a moving target. It's not a PC. It's not a PC. There's not varying configurations here.
And that's what we say all the time, and I don't think people like hear it enough, is that you can't look at a game that's from the Xbox Series, whether it's the S or the X, and the PS5, and then not run good and be like, oh, that was the developer's fault. What are they doing? They must be trash. Their engine must suck. And then go to the Switch and be like, it's the system. Like
immediately. Immediately that's what they do.
That's not how that works.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. You don't and that's I'm glad you brought it up, because you don't do the same thing with PC. It's not like you go to the PC and be like, hey, you running on a 4090 with a, what's the is it the i9? Is that the latest?
Yeah, like an i9 or whatever there's an i9 something that it's 11 something 11. Yeah. No, actually they're on 12 now, I think.
Yeah, they're on 12. It's been i9 was a few years ago.
Oh, it's like, okay. So you don't run with those kind of specs. Play a game and then the game runs crap and you like, man, this game is trash. And then run that same game on a lesser hardware and be like, it's the hardware. That's the problem. It doesn't work like that. If it ran trash on the highest, it's gonna run trash on everything else. Please believe. And the reason why it probably ran trash is probably not because of the hardware, especially if the hardware is what you guys like to call new. It's and the biggest difference is between PC, and I think we've said it, between PC and console is like the consoles stay the same. They don't change. Nothing changes about them. So whether you on year 1 or you on year 7, you should probably know the ins and the outs of the hardware by now. There should literally be no reason why your game is running slow or sluggish, and you might, as a matter of fact, you might get caught off even worse if you were trying to make that game a exclusive, because then you really got problems. And
your game 1080p, bro, on PS5.
And the perfect example is, and we've gotten on them before, like is Pokemon. But I think the biggest reason, I think we all agree, is that it got rushed. They had 2 Pokemon. Yeah. Never have they had 2 big Pokemon games come out in the same year.
Yeah, even with RCs, that's not their forte. They're not that experienced yet
No.
with 3D in general. They haven't really been doing that much in 3D. To be
No.
honest with
I think what was didn't they do like one on GameCube, like Coliseum?
you.
Yeah,
And that was it, yeah. And that wasn't even a traditional Pokemon game.
yeah. So it's not like I said, it's not like if every year they act like every year is the first year for them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or I should say the non-Nintendo fans act like every year is the first year for them. Oh, it must be the hardware because blah blah blah. This is a great developer. They know what they're doing. They know how to work this. No, 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 no. You know what I'm saying? They know how to do it. They've been working on games for years. Were any of those other games kind of sloppy? Because if I go to Hyrule Warriors, I'm pretty sure they got a track record of
Yep.
having some sloppy CPU management. Oh no, 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 no! But they ran fine on this, and did they though?
And it runs the exact same way.
Yeah. So, but every year is the first year to them. So it's like, oh, they still suck. Oh, they're not doing good this year because it must be the hardware. See, because their last game last year for the same system was running bad too. So it's got to be the hardware. It's got to be the hard. Is it the same engine though? Is Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk the same engine though? Is it? Because I'm pretty sure it is. And one of those games y'all love to tout as one of the greatest games of all time, and the other one y'all pretend like it never happened.
There
Both
we
on
go.
PS5.
Just real quick, what is the best selling fighting game of all time?
That one that involves pretty much every popular character that you could think of.
Yep.
So according to Jim Ryan, it would be the one that's on PlayStation 5.
Oh, don't mention Jim Ryan. He's gonna kick Andre again. He's
Bye, Andre. Bye, Andre.
yeah, they're killing me. It's the power of the SSD, and I'm like,
Oh yeah, stop that.
no, you
That
got it.
secret sauce. How did
That's
y'all do that? How did y'all do that? Y'all let Microsoft do that all last generation. We got secret sauce. The sauce is secret. It's secret sauce. What was it? Cloud was the secret sauce. We got the secret sauce. The sauce is here. Wait till the sauce come around. Wait till the sauce. Now y'all get SSDs and y'all talking about the secret sauce.
They killing me with it.
Stop it.
The magical SSDs. I'm like, that's not going to save you because guess what's faster than the SSD? It's your main memory. So you could probably just have more of that and you would have been okay. But what we tend to do is we think about storage because of the way games are written. Games are way too big and bloated now. So now you have games that are exponentially larger than the amount of RAM you have. So it takes a significant period of time to load all that in the game. And, if it wasn't this bad, imagine Breath of the Wild being designed specifically for PS5. That entire game fits in RAM.
Yeah.
That entire game fits in RAM.
But they wouldn't like it. It's not realistic.
That's one of the things. But that's one of the situations where I'm like, look, like, dude, the answer's right in front of you. You want instantaneous load times. You want no installs, or the install process is seamless to you. Shrink the damn games.
Didn't Mark Cerny say that? And nobody listened to him?
And he said to chop them up into smaller bits. That's what they did before from the previous games that he worked on. And then he talked about
show him with Spider-Man.
Yeah, and he said create a tier. So if you're going to be streaming data, to have your data pool in RAM to be larger than what it is on the drive. So you have time for the drive to buffer into memory. And all memory is doing is just transferring back and forth as fast as it can. And you don't really have to worry about the quote unquote SSD or whatever, because in the background, all it's doing is backfilling data that's already being transferred into RAM. and the RAM is pulling stuff faster than you could request. That's essentially what it is, because you've got tiers of memory. You got cache on the CPU, you have main memory, and then you have your storage, your local storage, which is going to be your slowest or what have you. So why would you want all of the important data to reside on your slowest storage?
Right.
And eventually it's got to be written back to memory anyway. So why wouldn't it just constantly stay in and out of memory? And the stuff that you're trying to remember, that's like, say if you're going to walk up to a corner and there's a whole bunch of data on this corner, once you know you're walking that way, on the drive, it should be paging it in the background to say, hey, look, I'm looking for memory location, whatever, as we get to this area. And it's loading it in the background. So when you get to that area, that page is already in RAM. And so when you turn, it just says, hey, look to that page, and it's instantaneously there. Versus you run up there and it's like, oh, I forgot it's on the drive, and you're waiting for it to load and then it pops in. That's insane. Why would you want that to happen? But if you look at the way some of these games are designed, that's what's happening, because their target was PC, and then they shoehorn it and put it on the consoles. They don't target the consoles from scratch, and that's the biggest problem. They have a development target, which is a souped up PC that they've been working on for years, and then they try to shoehorn it on the platform.
Water it down.
So I guess my biggest problem is gaming press should be a collection of journalists, which means that you're asking the hard questions, which means that you're holding people accountable in the industry instead of kissing their ass. Like, why would you, if you know a game's performance is a developer's fault, why would you blame hardware that's fixed? The Switch can't run 720p. Are you sure, bro? Because I'm pretty sure the hardware designers for that platform are pretty smart, and they know what requires a 720p frame buffer, and it's not much. So if it has that much memory to draw per frame, why are you then going to say it's the platform's fault? Especially when there's other games out there doing it easily,
right?
In handheld mode, not dock, in handheld mode. So yeah. One of these things is not like the other. You have a control group here, so it just doesn't make any sense to me. And for whatever reason, they're part of it. They're culpable to it, and they're perpetuating the bullshit. And I don't know why. I understand that the fanboy wars or the console wars is profitable. I get that, right?
Well, for some people.
For some people,
it's not profitable for everybody because it killed game trailers.
Yes.
It almost killed IGN. It killed a number of them, actually.
Killed G4 twice.
Yeah.
Well, the second time they had a little help.
Yeah. That's I I had that conversation before about the whole the Gamergate situation and whatnot. Yeah. Never forget that they changed that whole conversation on you. That conversation was never about right-wing bullshit. It was never about little kids being emo and wanting to go shoot people or anything like that.
Nope.
It was never about terrorizing some girl that made a game. It was about the collusion of gaming press and how it was all rigged to begin with.
Yep. And that
they had reviews
quick.
They had reviews written across multiple sites that they were talking about, and they're all publishing them at the same time.
Yep.
Like how? How? At the same time, same day?
And when all this was leaked, all gaming press at the same time released articles talking about how gamers are toxic. Make it make sense. How do all of these gaming outlets come out with the same articles at the same time, talking about the exact same thing?
Yep.
And then when the issue is brought up, they complain about the gamer the exact same way across multiple sites at the exact same time. All they're doing is confirming the problem. So, like, And I get it. Yeah, it's cheaper and it's easier for a conglomerate across the world to make a whole bunch of PC ports and treat the consoles as one of the PC configurations. I get it. That's what third parties are definitely trying to do because it's cheaper for them. I get that.
And it's less work.
It's less work. But why would you then go shit on the first parties that decided to do their job and write to the hardware? Why would you do that? Oh, well, it looks like Nintendo's running out of steam on this platform, blah, 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 blah. And it looks like they can't even get this game to run, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
Then all of a sudden, Metroid Prime Remaster drops.
Oh, it looks so great. This is what a great remaster looks like. And oh my God.
But you just said it couldn't run. Okay.
You just said the system couldn't do the thing. And then it did the thing. Oh, but those are GameCube assets. Oh, you mean, what are you trying to say? What do you mean by that? You know, and that's the other thing too, is like, oh well, if it's a game from this generation, then
clearly not good. It's clearly
it can't run as good. And I'm like, man, bro, it's games come out right now, and they're not that high in polygon. They have more post processing effects on them than anything else.
Right. They can't even do the stuff they promised you they promised you could do. I
mean, that's kind of like. I just want more gamers to be aware of when it's in your face like this. The kind of like, so everybody knows what happened with the crypto bust, right? As a comparison. Why in the Super Bowl they decided to do the E-Trade commercial with the babies again? This is our preferred way for you to trade money. We don't want you to do that thing where there was no governance over how you trade on the stock market. They're gone now. They're illegal now, or they're dead or in jail now. So now use our thing. We'll put out a commercial now. Do the E-Trade thing. That's the way we want you to do it. Just tell you how you're supposed to think. Nintendo's hardware is weak. They never compete with blah, 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 blah. You need RT cores to do this one thing. You need ray tracing for this. And that's the only way it can happen. I'm like, if you're ray tracing, why do you need rasterization? Why are there ROPs on this GPU core then? Oh, because you're still rasterizing. That's why. So why are we talking about ray tracing again? Oh, for certain effects, for things here and there. So it's not there all the time. So it is, and I will say this literally again, piecemeal. It's not happening all the time. But that's not how it's marketed to you. It's not. You turn on ray tracing, some stuff's ray traced, some stuff isn't. Because it literally is not possible currently right now.
Let it be Nintendo to do it though.
Yeah, if they do it first, they're the game. They're just now doing 4K. Oh God, and they're not 4K in every game, and how, like, bro, like. And it's not even about a Nintendo thing at this point. Like, the Xbox Series S is a great console, and I would defend it for the same reasons I would defend Nintendo platforms. Like, develop for that. That thing supports 1440p. Develop for that, and you'll get great results. You can't then go say, "Oh, well, it's holding us back." Holding you back from what?
That I never understood.
It's the memory. I'm like, why would it be a memory issue if you're not drawing in 4K? That doesn't make any sense to me. That means your game is broken. That means your engine is bad. If you can't take a system that's designed for less than half of the resolution that is targeted for on the Series X and PC or what have you, that is exponentially smaller resources for memory requirements, for pixel draw and everything per frame. Why would you need the same amount of memory on the Series S that you would on the Series X if they're not doing the same thing? And obviously that scales all the way down to Switch. If this thing is 11 watts and 720p on the go, why exactly are you complaining about it only having three gigs for games? Why? Why would you? Y'all were perfectly fine with 512 megs in the 7th generation for the same resolution. Isn't that funny how that works?
Right.
So something has changed, and it's not the math. It's not the fixed platform. It's the people writing these games.
Mm-hmm.
Their engines are fucking bloated.
And they don't know how to get rid of the redundancies out of them.
Yep. Joe, he's like, stop shooting holes in these people talking points. Sorry, man, they gotta die. They gotta die. They gotta die. I got a whole list of them. I can do a whole entire podcast on nothing but those bullshit ass talking points. But no, I'm not gonna do that, man. I'll switch it up on y'all. What games y'all be gaming, man? I'm gonna get off my damn soapbox because this a real long time. I can do this for a real long time. But I appreciate y'all hopping in here though. And I got everybody. I see all y'all in the chat. Got Dennis in here. Andre keep getting destroyed by Jim Ryan. It just won't let him in the chat.
Won't let him comply.
We got Metal Men in here. I ain't seen him in a while. Okay. We got some long time people in here. You know, Wade before I see you. And of course the King of the Chrome side is here. Got Levon in here. Nep, I'm not sure. You're new to me, from what I understand. He said I'm speaking the truth. Yeah. I mean, it's just a thing, man. Yeah, I see you, Romo. I never know how to pronounce your name, but I see you in here. Yeah, man. I get on Twitter, man, and dudes go back and forth for me, and I don't. I put them in a pigeonhole, and I just say, hey, so you're just gonna do this repeatedly, so you're just here to waste time. And I'm like, hey, so why do you think the way that you do? And then it becomes, oh, I'm gonna call you names now. Oh, okay. So you're not here to talk about the topic.
Mm-hmm.
They never are.
Yeah, we got dudes over here complaining about the fucking credits of a game they haven't beaten or bought yet.
Oh, that was hilarious to me.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What they should have put? They contributed to this game, and I'm like,
no,
but it's not their game.
It's not their game. Like, and the sad thing about it is, I understand to an extent, but they're not gonna put everybody's name in there if they didn't work. Some of these guys haven't been with Retro for over 10 plus years.
Yeah,
ain't gonna put their name in there just because they worked on the original game. I mean, the people that probably ain't even there. So you want a 50-minute credit roll,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, all right.
People that ain't even there anymore.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
That's just
people
thing,
talking. Like, it's because we saw it with Bayonetta. Oh, I am going to boycott this game.
You were never gonna buy it in the first place.
Yeah.
Be quiet.
Well, hold on. The people that were saying that the week the game came out, did y'all see this new combo? It's a time out. Flag on play.
Yep.
You said you weren't gonna play. You weren't gonna pick up this game. How are you playing it?
Yep.
You said
somebody else bought it for me.
You said you were sticking with the voice actors. Why are you playing this game? And Samson, I know you know about this. All I gotta say is Pokemon.
Oh, Pokemon all day. Pokemon is currently wait. The worst, the one they talk about the most. The one they talk about the most, Scarlet and Violet. Trash. That game is trash. Trash. Everything's wrong with it. Trash. You see how it runs? Performance, trash. Everything is bad. You fall through the walls. Trash. 20 million sold. Come on now. One of y'all was buying it and playing it.
Yeah, 20
I don't want to
million.
hear that.
And when it came out, November?
Yeah.
Isn't that
so 20 million from November to freaking February.
Isn't that a platform record? Isn't that like the fastest selling game?
Yeah.
Like ever?
But remember, Arceus broke the other record. Because it was another record Arceus broke.
Currently it is sitting at number 7 and highest sold Switch games. The only Pokemon game that's higher than that is Sword and Shield, and I think that one put out Mario, so it's sitting at number 5.
Yeah.
I got this shout out here from Quantum L. He's saying, great catching up ShadowCast, and even better hear perspective on gaming again. Respect to Jay, Sandstorm Dial for being on the panel tonight. We appreciate you, Quantum.
Appreciate it.
I'll see you in a minute. but we'll yeah, man. I just want to reach out with you guys, see how y'all doing. I haven't done one of these in a hot minute, man. And it's I know we can't. Some of the things that I say here, I can't necessarily say on the Winged Podcast all the time. So I figure I throw all
Yeah,
my
we
fucks
do.
and dams and whatever out here as much as possible. So
We are PG-13.
Oh yeah. I try to refrain there and then let it all loose here. But the only other topic that I kind of wanted to talk about though, other than that was just like, man, this system is setting records, man.
Yeah.
It's 122 million.
And you got to say, you just can't say 122 million. 122 million and hasn't lowered what?
Yeah, it ain't low the price.
Well, you already
That's
cheap.
never happened.
Here's the funny thing about it, and I've always laughed at people who swear up and down they understand business. Why would you drop your price when you're already the cheapest out of your competition?
Right.
And you're selling through the roof.
And then you hear the excuses too. Oh well, they're buying the systems, but they ain't really buying the game. No, they're close to about $1 billion in sales too, which is only eclipsed by the PS2. So yeah,
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Smash Brothers would like to have a word with you.
just insane. Like Zelda selling. Come on, man.
Zelda's sitting at what, 29 million or something like that? Breath of the Wild sitting
Yeah,
at 29 million?
yeah. And you know it's going to jump back up again right before the next game comes out. So
Yeah, because they already put that tweet out. Hey, you might want to finish that.
Yeah. that man, hey, give us a little bit more money. We ain't done. You ain't done playing it. You ain't done.
Yep.
Well, if I keep seeing people do stuff that I want to try.
Appreciate it, Ray. Yeah, I'm trying to make these a little less rare. So y'all stick around and we'll try to cover some more stuff. Y'all missed you might have missed earlier where we showed good old Dot Trey 81 video there. Kind of went through that a little bit since he decided to unmute me. So I figured I'd show some love and go ahead and show his video a little bit about why Nintendo fans tend to be more technically minded than the people that they swear are more technically minded. Because you got PC gamers out here not even knowing how Windows works. That's just hilarious to me. But a lot of fake tech heads out there, man. A lot of them, and they don't want to have these conversations. Like I did that Twitter Spaces. That dude was still trying to respond to me while I was doing the Twitter Spaces, and I'm like, the link's right here. Just click it, bro. Like you can't.
Oh,
you have you're on Twitter for iPhone. Click the button and talk. Like I'm right here.
Why in the world would I do that?
I'm busy. I'm busy right now. Don't bother me. I'm busy.
I'm busy, but I'm typing you.
All right.
And I'm like, it seems like there's a lot of confusion in between these little 120 character spats. So I would like to destroy those and we could just like have a clean conversation. And so whatever you're talking about, we can go ahead and hash that out because you appear to think that you know something I don't. So teach me. Tell me what you're talking about. What's missing?
Actually, we can't talk about that because if we do, you'll expose me, and that'll go against everything I stand for.
Yeah, there's that. You know, when I say, "Hey, what's that? What is that thing? What is that thing that Switch is missing to reach this magical fidelity you're talking about?" That was one of the questions, and it was just like, "Well, if you don't know, then you're just not smart enough." Oh, okay, then explain it to me. You can explain it to me live right here. Just talk to me and tell me how dumb I am. Tell me what is missing.
Yeah, he can't explain it. Hard to explain something when you don't know yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's missing different themes in the for the OS. We don't got any songs. We just can't change our own backgrounds and stuff like that. Switch Online is trash.
So they be on their plan.
And they on their plan.
On their plan.
Wait a minute, I thought y'all said y'all weren't gonna buy this. How you playing Golden now? I thought you weren't gonna get the expansion pack.
We put it in together. Somebody else is I had a family member Yeah.
Still counts as a sale, which means you don't follow what you say. So
I use the family plan, and that's how that's the only way I could do it because I can't see myself paying for this. Oh, okay, cool, that's fine.
Then it still counts as a sale, you dumbass. So
Nintendo's behind the times. Why don't they have voice chat? And I'm like,
they have it. They have it. How many times I got to say this?
I don't want to use the app. You don't want to use the app, but what's the next thing you say? Why don't they just add Discord to the Switch?
Wait a minute.
App.
That's an app. Here's the problem. And this is the one that got me that got me yelled at.
Spawn Wave of all people. I'm like,
this is the one that got me yelled at of all people. I asked somebody, I'm like, okay, so do you know where your phone is right now? Yeah. So you ain't never with your phone. I'm always with my phone. Then what's the problem? Because it has voice chat. You just don't want to use it.
Yep.
Just say that.
Would I have to add the dongle? Blah 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 blah. No,
you ain't gotta do nothing.
Like, you can use this, or there's AirPods now. Like there's not even a thing anymore.
That's not even because
you open the app, you turn your phone off, and just sit in the corner over there and continue talking, and then you play your game.
Because this is actually what you use to talk to people on.
But not anymore. This new generation of kids, they use it to just text. They don't talk to people, and they DM people, and then they go meet in person and not talk to each other and look at phones together.
Yeah,
that's a new. Yeah, I'm grumpy old man. I'm yelling at cloud right now, but that's. But
I just like it's funny because this is a device used for talking, and you would think that that's what you would want, especially seeing as how I had both Xbox Live and PlayStation, and I've had problems with both of their voice chats to the point where I'm like, why am I paying for this? So there have been times where I've just said, screw it, and just go to Discord.
Yep. And they're not. We've already said before that the voice chat is just not.
It's not where it needs to be.
It's not good, and you'd rather use a dedicated app to do it. Like, I hate that they got rid of Google Hangouts. That was the thing we were using back then.
Oh yeah,
we just be gaming all day on that. So
Deepak Chopra.
Dennis out here throwing he said journalist's worst nightmare is Switch passing the PS2 also. Yeah,
it's probably going to at the end of the year. By the end of the year,
it's slowly getting there. Man.
If you really think that they ain't got nothing in the second half of the year, you are sadly mistaken.
Yo, I tell you, if Metroid Prime 4 drops, it's a wrap.
Because I can see them dropping Direct and Shadow dropping 2 and 3. I can truly see them doing that.
If they did it with the first one, they ain't scared to do it with the other two.
I was kind of done with. I'm thinking too, like Switch's successor comes out. Switch is not going to stop selling.
No,
like it's still going to
sell
be
more.
Because then you have people that didn't pick it up now. They're gonna buy it then.
Yeah. If there is ever a price drop, and that price drop happens after Switch 2 comes out, you can expect that's for the Sony fans and the Xbox fans who know about price dropping to gain to gain more sales. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Imagine a $99 Switch Lite and a $200 base Switch.
I might buy a couple myself.
And some parents gonna be like, "Oh, I can get this for these kids." I
can bet people are waiting on it.
Yeah.
I can bet people are definitely waiting on it. So if it comes, it's gonna be a wrap. That's gonna be a good 20 million right there just from them dropping it.
And I'm not gonna lie, I do think that's what that's the idea.
Yep.
Because there's no reason for them to stop selling it right now, introduce whatever they got planned next. Because they're just sitting up there, okay, y'all said y'all didn't want none. Y'all said the Wii U was garbage and all this. We took everything out, and y'all bought it like crazy. Yeah. I wonder what happened when we put everything back in.
Oh man, where we at? We're almost about 90 minutes, so we can go ahead and we can cut this one short. This is just an initial ShadowCast. I want to reconvene and do these on Wednesdays. But we can go through a couple of questions if anybody has any in the chat real quick, and we can call it unless you guys have any particular questions. I know we already had our discussion about the Nintendo Direct and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm seeing more comments than questions here, but let's see.
Tears of the Kingdom visuals, those are more catered to Switch as opposed to Breath of the Wild's cross-platform. So yeah,
Definitely.
they do look better.
It looks like it needs to look. All I need to know is what villains they bringing back from the first and second game, so I can be ready. Because y'all did not warn me about Lionel, you bastards. And
Right.
you know, I just need to know which one I gotta run into, because it looked like I'm gonna have to fight that 3-headed Gleeok, and I'm not happy about that.
Yeah,
you know what I think would kind of make an interesting game is if they took some stuff from Link to the Past. Remember, in Link to the Past, the Zoras were enemies in those games.
Yeah. They were in OG. Mm-hmm.
That would be vicious if you pulled up on a Zora's domain and they like,
they go to war with you.
We coming for your neck. Yeah, that would be crazy.
You the reason why Mipha got killed. Spoilers for a 6-year-old game.
Matter of fact, I recognize you. You was boy, weren't you?
Yeah.
I wasn't him.
Yeah, bro.
No, I think I recognize you.
Yeah, dog. Yeah, cuz. Yeah, cuz. We done seen you, cuz. We seen you around here, cuz. Oh, hell.
Matter of fact, it looked like she scraped your name in stone with a picture right here. That's you, ain't it? That's you, right?
Time to go. We're gonna take you right on out. So
according to her diary, page 10, look like you, bro.
Yeah, I don't think I think there's definitely more to come after Zelda this year. Yeah. So people seem to be like counting down death's door on this, especially since another Kirby end got announced. Kirby spells the end of a Nintendo platform.
Well,
but I'm like,
they've been trying to kill this thing since 2018. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like, dude, they've been trying to kill it. They hoping they right this year. I'm like, dude, they've already said they're gonna keep supporting it as long as it's feasible.
Yep.
And
paltry storage, and I'm like,
okay, I can throw a terabyte damn thing in there, and I'm good because I got a terabyte in mine.
Guess what I can do? I can put a game cartridge inside of the Switch and immediately start playing.
Yep.
If I put a 50 gig Blu-ray of Call of Duty inside of a PS5,
the game
I gotta wait for 100 gig download.
Yeah, and the game ain't even on there. The game ain't even on there. Mm-hmm. So you might as well just, down. That's all. Like,
so that's what happens when your game is no longer supported.
Yeah. But guess what happens when you have a disc that doesn't have a game on it? You're in the same boat.
This is the only thing I think is not. I don't think this is happening. There will be no Zelda X.
Well, the reason why it's not happening is Monolith Soft themselves has said it's not going to happen because it'll take too much time and money. They'd rather focus on the new games.
Mm-hmm. Their next game is a fantasy game. So
if it's X2, I would be fine with that. But
that's
another entry in Kaitos. Who knows?
That would make it already inferior than the original X because you don't have two screens. But
Yep.
They'd have to redo the whole game, and I keep telling people like, you don't want that. You just don't want that. They ain't know. I get mad that I have to hit the plus for Breath of the Wild. I don't want to. I done got so used to Twilight Princess and Wind Waker and that doggone game map being on the screen. Now I'm just doing what I need to do.
I'm gonna tell y'all now that everybody that watches this video after this too, do not let Twitter emulation trolls fool you.
Yeah,
they'll tell you, hey, I can do dual screen with my Steam Deck, or I can have my PC screen be this, and I can just drag my mouse over there and click to do this in Xenoblade Chronicles X. Like that's
it didn't even run like that.
That's not doable. It's not doable. It's instant on Wii U because what happens on the gamepad actually happens before what you see on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm getting a notification that I probably need to go ahead and end this because it's about time for another Bacardi break. So on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and call it an evening, gents. But before y'all go ahead and shout out y'all socials and your channels so we can prop y'all up properly. So Sandstorm, you go ahead and go first.
All right. Yeah, you know where to find me at the Sandstorm Show, Sandstorm McDowell. And also follow my co-host too, Trey Vito, Trae Vito. And you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram too. I'll probably let you follow me there too. But you know how we do. We talk about the same stuff. Lately we've been gaming. So we've been doing the Hogwarts thing. So if y'all want to watch more of that, that's coming on Friday. If not Friday, Thursday. If not Thursday, then Saturday. Yeah,
Okay.
that's all I got.
All right, Jay, what you got?
All right, so Winging the Podcast, Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're gonna have us a musical. Not
yes, we will.
not like you're thinking. Not like you're
Yes,
thinking.
we will.
But we will have a musical episode. Other than that, probably gonna play another character from the Octopath Traveler 2 demo. I'm not gonna do I Got Mine this week. I'll probably jump back on that next week. Probably do either Smash Brothers or Injustice. Can't figure out which one I want to do. But I probably will jump on Octopath Traveler 2 and do another one of the character play the first chapter. Also, I'm probably going to be playing Tales of Symphonia on the remaster on either probably Saturday night. Saturday night. I'll probably play that Saturday night because that comes out Friday. So
yeah,
I'll be playing that one of my favorite Tales of games. So yeah, that's pretty much all from me.
One more again, y'all buy this controller. Just buy this controller.
Yeah, the 8-bit though controller. The only thing I don't like about that controller is you can't wake up the system with it. Other than that, great controller.
So somebody on Twitter told me when you hit this button and it blinks like this, you shake it and it does wake up. It wakes up the OG Switch.
It don't wake up the OLED.
So the light time you press it wakes it up. But for whatever reason, for the OG Switch, you got to do this whole rumble thing, and then it wakes up the system. It's weird.
It doesn't wake up the system on the OLED. So
okay,
I had to use my other controller, then go in and change it. So yeah.
Brand Swift, you asked me Star Wolf from Assault Zero. Assault. I'm just gonna be a bigger fan of Assault. That orchestral score was amazing. Let's see what we got here. Great stream tonight. Yeah, I appreciate y'all for coming through for sure. But yeah, we'll be doing these every Wednesday. This is a little bit later. Typically, I want to shoot for 7:00, but tonight was 8:30 for a litany of reasons. But typically, we'll try to shoot for 7 on Wednesdays. So look out for the podcast. Then I'm gonna try to keep this as regular as possible, and I mean it for real this year. I promise you. So y'all stay in tune, and we'll and I'll do videos in between and stuff to expose all this bullshit, so y'all get used to it. And we'll go from there. But I appreciate y'all. I appreciate Winging It Podcast for y'all joining me on here, and we'll call it a episode for you guys. So y'all have a good one, and we're out.
No stop.
Later,
y'all.